everybody. Welcome to the training, learning, and development community. Thanks for joining us this morning. We have a nice group of registrants already here. Thanks so much for jumping in. This is kind of a community discussion TLD cast. I didn't list it as one, but I think that it's sort of last minute where I was able to gather some fantastic guests, which are in right now. We've got Toddi Norum, Nick Floro, Cyndi Nagel. I've got Alan. I know that we want to get in at some point in the audience too, all in to talk about their experiences as mentors. So let me mention a couple of things. First off, got some polls. If folks in the audience want to check out those polls and participate in those, would love to share the results to everybody at some point during this broadcast. And also there is an ask a question area at the bottom of the screen. If you take a look down there, many of you are familiar with that area, but if you want to post a question in there that we can throw out to our guests and even to our audience, please feel free to add that there. I know Bessie's already put one in, so we'll try to cover those as well. And so let's start out here first with, I'm going to let my guests do like some quick introductions for themselves. So let's start with Cyndi. Cyndi, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? I know you're supporting TLDC member. I just love having you as part of the community, but go ahead.
Good morning. I am Cyndi Nagel. I am joining from Southern California. I'm a training development manager for a consumer electronics company. I've been in L&D for a long, long time. Took a break from being on L&D in retail for a significant amount of time. Took a break to just doing product training and sales training, and then transitioned about a year ago back into the people side and leadership development and employee development in my company.
Love it. Thank you, Cyndi. Thanks so much. Toddi, go ahead. Go for it.
Sure. Toddi Norum. I think you probably all heard my story, but I got into training, working with the military, actually training DoD robotics to the Army, which was a lot of fun. I've kind of stayed in that DoD space, and I actually now work for a company in that same space, managing the training for about 800 people across the company. Actually, most of them are virtual instructor-led training sessions. We run like one a week, so it's a lot of work, but it's a whole lot of fun. I think I'm having more fun right now than I've had in a long time. So
that's great. That's great to hear, Toddi. That's great to hear. And Nick Floro, who I know I say it every time he comes on a broadcast. I've known Nick for years and years in the industry. So Nick, go ahead.
I like to play. I mostly get involved in helping people to understand the technology, and where I have most fun is in designing experiences or apps for learning.
Yeah, and Steelworks Interactive, everyone should get to know Nick. And Nick is a regular at the major conferences and events, and definitely has the most impressive work desk sort of setup that I have ever seen. So yeah, so connect with Nick if you can, because he's definitely someone you should know. All right, so let's kind of start out with this. I wanted to begin with the group of you talking about, when I invited you, it seems like everyone sort of had a little bit of a story about mentorship and why they wanted to participate in this particular TLD cast. So Nick, why don't we start with you? I'd love to hear a little bit of why mentorship is important to you, why you wanted to be here today.
I think it's such a great thing to connect. Mom was a teacher, and when I was in my teens, I got adopted or mentored by a really close friend now, who started working with me when I was 15 and kind of opened the doors to technology and learning and playing and how to communicate and work with different people. But it was such an amazing experience that I try to apply that to any teammate group I get to work with, to try to share and grow. And I thought it was really helpful.
Wow. So, I mean, was that mentor that you had, was that somebody that was specifically influenced your career in learning and development, or was it just kind of as just a partner in life type of situation?
it was my first meaningful job, but it was working with a Apple value-added reseller, they were called back then. But just seeing that company grow, and I had an opportunity at 17, 18 to fly around the country teaching and working with different kinds of people, to use technology to, at that time, we were looking at print and video. So it just kind of flipped me into learning, which was really cool.
Love it. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, Cyndi, how about you? I know you had given me a little bit of a story in your message, and I'd love it if you could share that.
Yeah, in terms of being a mentee early in my career, I definitely had that opportunity. I fell into training by accident. I was in retail operations, finishing college, studying psychology on a completely different career track, but really enjoyed retail, really enjoyed sporting goods. We were selling toys. So initially I became a trainer, a facilitator. And so the early mentees for me were teaching me how to be a better facilitator in front of groups and things like that. So throughout my career, I've sought mentees, for different parts of the job. So if I had a challenge in a particular area, I would have sought out, building out a personal learning network, a PLN, right? So in my early days, it was really relying on like Twitter communities to, learn chat, to like build up a network of people to learn from and share ideas. In terms of being a mentor, I'm currently involved in a mentorship program with our on-campus high school. So our corporate office hosts a early college high school campus. The students at this high school, when they finish high school, when they graduate, they will also have earned a bachelor's degree at the same time. So we are involved, various people in the company are involved in actually mentoring some of the students throughout the year. And that will turn into projects for the spring semester here pretty soon. So, and then I'm also mentoring another employee in the organization. I'm a team of one at my company, and that's been a challenge because we have 4 brands. So building sales training modules, e-learning for those 4 brands, I have very limited time. It's a lot of work. So I had identified early on a key person on the team that had what I believed were the aptitude and the skills to transition into ID. And she just got offered her opportunity to do exactly that for one of our brands that's divesting off. So it's pretty exciting to see her progression.
Great. Oh, that's good to hear that. Good to hear that. What kind of background did she have?
Well, she was a salesperson for a long time, and like Nick, traveling around doing workshops in stores, teaching people about the product. She is a photographer and a videographer before that as like a tinker hobbyist. So she has the video editing skills. She has the eye for designing something that looks good. And, it was an easy transition because she's so passionate about helping people learn whatever topic she's teaching that it made sense for her. So it's exciting to see that coming to life for her. She decided to get college education. She's going to a school in Texas for instructional design, and she probably wouldn't have done that had I not kind of pushed her that way. So I've been helping her throughout that experience, and she's just a couple of weeks away from starting her first true real ID job, which is really cool.
Congratulations. That sounds like a successful situation.
Fun.
All right, Toddi, how about you?
So I would not be in this career if it wasn't for a mentor. It wouldn't have happened. I worked with a company where I was in the technical writing field, and I did a lot of boring documentation. And I had the opportunity to join the training team, and I said yes because it sounded like a great opportunity. Immediately, one of my coworkers basically stepped in to mentor me, and actually she handed me a couple of books on instructional design. One was Rapid Instructional Design. I think I've referred that book to a couple people in this zone. It's an older book, but it's a really good one. And she started to teach me a lot of the things about the field that I had no knowledge of. I mean, I had a lot of knowledge of, audience understanding and doing assessments on, what everybody understood from being the check writer, but moving into the world of, actually being with people was a new thing, and I loved it. So, I still really value her mentorship to me, still, because I don't think that I would have taken this trajectory without her. So I definitely see the value in it. And I have a couple of folks that I've mentored actually through COVID. One transitioned actually from working in higher ed. Another is working actually in K through 12 right now, and we find we have a lot of people that come in through that K through 12 network. So I been definitely informally mentoring them. The person who transitioned from higher ed has had some really, really amazing successes, including some just this week. So it's really cool to see that happen, because I love to see people grow. That's why we're in training, right? That's why we're here. And so I, in my own position right now, I actually have an assistant that I just moved over a couple of weeks ago from a different department as well. And she has an education background. And so I'm hoping to do some mentoring with her as well, in addition to management, because, there's a difference between management and leadership, that is kind of that mentoring tool. But she has the aptitude for it as well. So I'm excited, because I do a little bit of ID for my company, in addition to managing these, 800 people in the one class a week, and I definitely need the help. So I'm hoping that she'll be interested enough that I can help her get ramped up. But there's nothing like that mentorship.
Yeah.
And Nick, you actually mentioned something I think has really resonated with me over the years, is to see, family businesses are like the ultimate mentorship, right? And so I feel like that's how we should treat membership, is we kind of bring that person into our arena as almost a family member. We kind of take them with us. We introduce them to new concepts. We teach them, how to visualize what skills they already have and how they can be applied to a new job. And that might be skills that we don't traditionally think of as ID skills, like, project management, or even a little bit of knowledge about agile design, and those are the things I do with people. Is I say, hey, look at your skill set and let's figure out how we can kind of fine tune this towards what you want to do. So anyway, it's way too much fun. Just saying.
I love it. Hey, so real quick, I just want to go over some of the poll results just to share with everybody. The first question that I had on there was, are you currently mentoring somebody? And we had 53.8% of the audience said that that they were. So that's nice in this audience to see so many mentors in there. But also currently looking for a mentor, 72.7 says are looking for mentors in this audience. So I'm glad that you're here. Hopefully that this this conversation is going to be able to help. I have some information towards the end that I'll share with you about finding mentors that I think the TLDC I'm going to just try to build out. And also, last question in the poll: have you participated in a mentor-mentee relationship in your career? And 76% basically said yes. So great to hear. All right. So let me, what I want to do now is, there are a few questions that already in the Ask a Question are that aren't some of the ones that I sort of pushed out. So let me start with those, because I'd love to get them sort of out of the way. So to answer for the audience, let's go with this first one from Bessie, where Bessie's asking, what is the best or cost-effective way to advertise for a mentor or mentee in an organization? Any of you have any experience with that? Within an org, like I myself, I know that whenever I've taken on mentees in an org, it was sort of just handed to me, just like, sort of the same way when I was in 5th grade at a new school, and, my best friend, Robert Reyes, like got thrown at me to show me around the school. And, to this day, he's still my best friend. But I know in an organization, I remember like Crystal is somebody at the e-learning guild that I sort of mentored. And to this day, we still message each other on Slack. But yeah, how about the group of you?
I can take a stab at it. We actually are just going to launch our formal mentorship program this quarter. It's coming. I'm actually writing all the plans for that now. I have mentored people in the company. Most of the time, they have approached me directly with questions around what I make. They might see an e-learning module that I made, or and they ask me about it. They reach out and ask me about it. Just a few weeks ago, I had that exact situation happen. somebody on the marketing team asked me about a training e-learning that I had made around a product. And when I told her, I'll be happy to share with you exactly how I made it. Let's set up some meetings. She set up a series of meetings. She had it very planned out and detailed what she wanted to know for each meeting, which is perfect. That's really what a mentee should be doing, is picking a goal and just ask for help. Reach out to the people you see doing the work you're interested in. Send an email, and you'd be surprised, you probably will get a response, as long as you take the time to be respectful of their time. Look for a place to 30-minute meetings on their schedule, and then make sure you have some focused bullet points to go over, questions to ask, and then let the mentor help in whatever way they can.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Cyndi. Hey, Nick. So when you get into a mentor-mentee relationships, how does that typically start for you? If it's something that you're currently active in, or have experience with.
Yeah, within our team, I mainly work with the designers, but I'm always looking for helping them to strengthen their skills, whether it's communicating with a stakeholder, or how to deliver a message, or how to avoid getting the bad design selected. So like shifting the conversation. But I always look for opportunities to connect and figure out what they want to learn, where they want to go, how do they, what makes them happy or excited, and what did they hear or learn from a particular experience. So I will drag team members into different situations that they're not used to. So a programmer might sit in on a general meeting, or vice versa, but I look to help everyone get a well-rounded experience so that they understand that I'm not just on the phone talking about what to get for lunch. It's like talking about these different things, and what are those different types of opportunities or experiences that they can learn from.
Where does the line sort of get drawn between being, say, the leader of your organization or the manager of a group and being a mentor?
I'm not me personally, because I work with small teams. I don't do I'm going to say a great job, or I think I'm still growing in that area, where I'll always look to teach to help someone understand why that may not be the best way to experience. And I'm still honestly fumbling with how I communicate sometimes, because it doesn't come across. I'm like, wow, I said that. We're using like auto technology, and I'm like, woo, that, reading back the script, I'm like, woo, that didn't sound too good. So I'm still learning and growing 30 years in. And I try to, I think, Cyndi, you said too, like the ideal of it being more personal, or the family type thing, where I look to operate in that space. So it's an open communication, and that everyone understands that we're all trying to learn and grow, not that I'm the boss and you got to do what I say. Because I think that, there's a line there.
I love it. So Toddi, that is kind of, it sounds like that is part of what is valuable about being a mentor, is you're actually growing through these relationships as well, right? Do you have any
Absolutely.
experience
Yeah.
with that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I've definitely grown my own skill sets by, working with folks to mentor them in the practices of L&D. But through that, I've learned other things. I've learned a lot more about project management. And, to your last question, I'm actually a new manager as well. So learning the management piece of it is new for me, because I am more a native mentor. So now I'm actually, project management is something I've done for a long time, but people management is a new thing, in terms of making sure the deliveries are met, making sure that everybody that, is has something on task needs to get it done in a certain time. And of course, I have that responsibility to the employee as well. If they're going to deliver something on time, I need to deliver on time as well. So, it's definitely a learning experience for me. And, I'm actually at this point looking for a mentor within my company, and it may end up being my own boss, someone who can mentor me on the management stuff. It's kind of exciting, and it's new and different for me, because I'm just more in that space of natively showing someone how to do it and giving them guidance on best practices. So
I love
all
it.
good.
That's great. Cyndi, I'm going to go ahead and give you this question from Elizabeth, that is in our QA area. How can I be a better mentee for my mentor?
Well, I think the key is being prepared, like having specific questions, so I think that's key, because you don't want the mentor to have to figure out what you need to know. If you're curious about a specific thing they're doing, or if something you see them working on, ask them very directly about that task that you would like, or skill that you would like to build. So throughout the years, I've had various people come to me and say, how'd you make that video? How did you, and then I can show them, Camtasia, and how I bring in the company's, the marketing finished assets, and how I can bring in the finished copy that our marketing team and PM teams have put together, and build those and bridge those and maybe tweak it so that we can edit the voice depending on who the audience is to. So all those things, they just naturally flow from whatever that mentee specific interest is. So, and I think sometimes people can kind of, confuse. You have to be clear about what you want to learn. And mentorship, sometimes people think a mentor is like a lifelong, you're just going to be my life guide. And in terms of an organization, it needs to be a bit more project focused. So just so you can respect that mentor's time for their normal job. They're taking time out of their job to devote to you. Happy to do it. It's definitely something that in our program that we're rolling out, we're going to be spending some time with the mentors, explaining to them, here's a general amount of time you should give people that you decide to take on as a mentee. And at the same time, we're reminding the mentees that they have a responsibility to respect that time, focus on a specific skill, and go from there. Because chances are those conversations will lead to another skill that you'll want to develop later, and you can set up time for that later.
Nice. So Nick, when you are mentoring somebody, when you have a mentee, is there any way to communicate some of these things to, within that relationship of like sharing, like, I want you to do this and this and this, like to make this relationship successful, this is how we're going to be working together? Or do you go through that at all?
I think working in a smaller scale, like Cyndi just mentioned, like having that formal plan or list of questions, I think that's priceless, and I wrote it down to go and do. So I'm learning too. One thing that I have seen patterns like over the years as I start to see that this really worked with this person and this didn't work as well as here. So looking for, fitting the right resource or tool. And I've developed kind of a workflow to help them grow. So we start off with some basics just to kind of see where they're at, and looking, mainly in design is where I focus on, but helping them to gain those skills or grow those skills. And
nice.
See if it resonates and how we can tweak it. Yeah.
Right. Hey, so Toddi, you put this message in chat. I think that you say, I think it's also important to be clear about career goals. I tend to mentor a lot on how to move from point A to point B. Now, I do want to ask you, Toddi, like when you start mentoring somebody, do they know, like, do you actually have a conversation like, I'm going to be mentoring you now, and, et cetera, like, or is it something that's sort of
I do, and
organically grows sort of as in a relationship?
I've had a lot of people reach out to me regarding mentoring and asking if I would mentor. And so I actually typically do an evaluation to find out, where are they at and where do they want to go? And I've had a couple of teachers approach me who are moving from K through 12. And so that's where I've actually stopped and done an assessment with them to say, okay, what skills do you have as a teacher that can also roll into either instructional design or learning and development, if you want to be a creator versus a manager, and really to look at that and figure out where their gaps might be. A person in particular that I really worked on with a lot of gaps, and like I said, that person has had some pretty cool successes actually recently, but built up their portfolio of what they can do on project management, which is a big deal. So I think that's kind of been my long view of mentoring. You can also mentor somebody on more creative processes as well. So, but I definitely do an assessment, and we sit down and write out strengths and whatnot and figure out what that person wants. So
Yeah. So sort of piggybacking onto that, there's another question from Elizabeth here, where Elizabeth is asking what qualities are mentors looking for in a mentee? So is it like if somebody asks if, or initiates sort of this mentor relationship, do you specifically look for something in them, or how do you qualify them?
Oh, in terms of a mentee, I'm really, and engaged. So I think that's just that commitment. So anybody
Okay.
else have thoughts on that?
Yeah. How about you, Nick?
I don't have a formal process, but I think having an assessment or getting aligned is really critical to making sure it's successful and it's beneficial to both sides. Like I look for someone that's passionate or hungry to learn, so that I can see that they're growing and scaling, or just having a frank conversation with them to say that this may not be the best fit, or like going back to what are your goals? What do you want to do? Do you love what you're doing, or do you want to be in this other area? Looking for that right fit.
Nick, I just get the feeling that you probably mentor everybody that works with you, and it's like the sense that you probably just are so interested in the success of any of your employees. But how about you, Cyndi? It seems like you have something to say on this one too.
Well, I was going to say I'm pretty open. If somebody asks for help, I'm willing to help. That's just the trainer in me. It's just the person. It's just one of my values. If somebody's asking for help, I will find a way to. If I can't help them myself, I will lead them to somebody who can. So that's always kind of been the way I've looked at it in terms of somebody coming to help. I have had times where I have been asked to take teams of people and teach them skills, and so. In that case, in terms of qualifying the goals, it's definitely meeting with that team, maybe making a list of teams they want to things they want to focus on, having that group kind of vote, what would you like to learn first? And that kind of sets up the priority of, how to make a short video on a product, how to present better in PowerPoint, how to, update the design of a PowerPoint, whatever that might be, So that's how I've handled kind of a group mentorship, if you will. We didn't really call it mentoring each other. It was just kind of just naturally fell into place as this group wanted to improve their presentation skills and training skills and building decks. And that's kind of how it evolved. We gave it a priority, and every month we had an hour where we would, focus on a skill to build. And that's kind of how that worked out. So, and then the group would get an assignment that they could post to like a shared folder on the company drive. And, that would give me a chance to give them tips on their design. And then they would in turn then present it later to the whole group, the little project that they worked on. So
that's great.
Things like that have worked out in my organization.
It seems like that structure would be really, really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah. And it just kind of, I didn't really have it on paper. We just kind of decided on a flow, and that's how it worked out.
Great.
The high school group I work with, they have a lot more structure. So the counselors, the administrators are actually every month they set up meetings with the mentor-mentees, and they give us a sheet to follow. And those things, it usually include some kind of like small talk, get to know each other stuff. But then there's a very focused conversation we're having. One of the first conversations I had with my mentee student was around email and how to be more professional in email, and some of the things to be that, to think about as these high school students were learning about writing emails in business. So that was a really fun little project.
Nice. I love some of the stuff that's getting posted in chat. I want to mention something. Danny Ortegon, who is a friend of Nick's as well, he had sent me a message where he wanted to participate today, but just couldn't make it. He was traveling, but He said the idea of mentorship is a great one. It requires commitment from both sides of the relationship. It takes work to set goals, to maintain regular conversations. It cannot just be the mentor leading the way. It should be a partnership. So this requires time, commitment, regular check-ins to ensure the relationship is fruitful and that it is moving forward in a positive manner. And so I sort of want to follow that up a little bit with this question to you is, I feel like mentorship within our space or just within educators it might be a little different, like, say in pharmaceutical or, or sales or anything. Do you guys have any feedback to say on that, how it might be different, like as educators?
So Luis, I mean, we actually have a formal mentorship program that is really for our business development teams. So, I run the education competency pathing piece of it, but my managers actually have a formal mentoring program where they take on the new people that are coming into the business development area, and they actually meet at very specified times. They don't usually come to me for that because I'm more of the support person on what they do. So it's interesting to see, though. It is very formal, and it's actually documented out. It's got a path, and there's very specific recommendations of what they should folks should be doing and how they engage. So it's a cool program.
Nice. I do want to ask a group of you, and typically for these broadcasts, I like to keep them close to 30 minutes. So I'm going to start to wrap it up now. But I know with TLDC, a lot of the activity that's been happening over this last couple of months is that I'm seeing a lot of teachers coming in, looking to shift over to instructional design or become a learning and development professional. And it's nice to hear that, like Cyndi within your organization, and I think maybe Elizabeth, you have like formal mentorship programs that are available, and that's fantastic. But if there was somebody that was, say, maybe a freelance instructional designer or somebody that was in a team of one that was looking to find mentorship opportunities, do you have any recommendations on where to go to find something like that? Like, let's start with you, Toddi. Do you know of anything, like how would somebody find you, for instance, if they were, an entry-level ID just looking for some help?
Yeah, most of them have come either through LinkedIn or through events that I attend. People will seek me out and say, "Hey, I heard you talk," or, I saw you in the chats, and would you be interested in mentoring? LinkedIn tends to be the thing, and I do post a lot of stuff on mentorship, so I think I probably bring that on myself. All good.
Nice. Nick, have you ever mentored anybody outside of your own organization? Is that something that you consider at all?
Yeah, I've had a couple opportunities. One that surprised me was from one of the main technology companies, and I'm like, why are you asking me? I'm like, you're this big company that has billions of dollars and like doing all these things. And they were just looking to see, how a small group operated and, how you did things versus the big corporation. And I thought that was really interesting. So I did it to learn what they did as well. So it was kind of a fun opportunity.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. How about you, Cyndi?
I've had a few people reach out actually through TLDC in some of the past events. I've done some of the roundtables, and where I've hosted a table to answer some questions. I had a couple of teachers that I spoke to on the Career Day event that we did. I have also, I'm in some of the Facebook groups for instructional design and learning as well, or the tools. There's a Camtasia page, a Captivate page, there's an Articulate group. And there's plenty of people asking questions there. So some of them have reached out privately or I will recognize that I can help that person a little bit more and offer to let them message me directly about whatever it is they're asking about. So, and then LinkedIn, same with Toddi. I've had people reach out on LinkedIn. So,
and what works as far as that introduction or that request is concerned? And maybe what doesn't work as well? Is there anything specific that that really helps, like within that introduction or of somebody making that ask?
Sure. You have to be comfortable saying no, which I'm not too comfortable with. So I love the ideal of the assessment, or like, hey, answer these questions so we can just see if we're a match, or we can connect, or I can help you with your goals or your thoughts. But I think, for me, that's still something I'm growing on, is just how to politely say, I don't think this will be helpful, or we'll try it. But trying to figure out the balance if you're, especially if you're connecting with someone outside of your normal circle.
Right.
Yeah, I do feel like sometimes some of the people that are transitioning into instructional design or learning are looking for kind of a fast track. And so again, going to the qualifying thing, Toddi, just really want to make sure that people understand what the job is and that they have a passion for it, and so because sometimes it feels like they're just desperate to leave whatever situation they're in, and this seems like a good fit, but they haven't really considered the true work, the project management, the people management, the theory, the behind learning and how people learn, the design skills that are needed, the things you need to think about, cognitive load, and you need to think about 20% of the population has a neurodiverse issue, and you need to worry about that in design. And so, there's a lot of things to consider, and I think that it goes back to the qualifying question: what are the goals? Is the person willing to put in the work? Some of these things are things that all of us have learned over the many years that we've been in this work. And, it takes time, and you need to be willing and open and have a growth mindset to learn and explore and to question the theories and whether they're research-based and all of that.
Absolutely.
Realistic expectations. Yes, Kim, you're absolutely right. The expectations of creating learning and development, e-learning or whatever it is, whatever role you're doing, you need to understand the real expectations. It may take a year to get a program off the ground. Like it's more. Sometimes it's not that simple, So yeah.
Yeah.
No,
How about Toddi? Do you have anything to add on
that?
Do you have anything?
I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say projects always take a year. But no, I would say, again, it's qualifying, because I think there's kind of there's a myth out there that this is an easy path. And I can tell you, I've never worked as hard, honestly, as, I didn't work this hard when I was a tech writer. I had time to play with my kids, and, half the time now I barely have time to make dinner. And but I love what I do, and I see the rewards at the end of it. So, it's a commitment for sure. So.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up. I think that, what I want to mention is there is something that I'm building just because I see the demand for it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple forms, one for mentors and one for mentees. And then basically, if you're interested in finding a mentor, you can fill out, that mentee form. And then if you are a mentor looking to maybe help somebody else out, you can just add your name to that list through that form. And I'm going to do it old school. I'm just going to collect these names and see if we can make some matches that way. I haven't finished the layout and the formatting. I'm going to work on that this weekend, but it is kind of going to be very rudimentary, but I figure why not? It might just be something that'll help the community and help the new folks out there that are looking for some guidance. And so I will message that out to everybody, probably in the newsletter, maybe specific to the people that attended this, that registered for this particular broadcast. And so hopefully you'll see that in a few days. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Toddi, Nick, Cyndi, thank you so much for jumping in. Alan, sorry I didn't get you in. I forgot that we only have space for 4 in these. I've been working in the beta one, and the beta one has like 6, and I totally forgot that. But thanks everybody for joining us today. And don't forget, next event we have Exploring Freelancing on February 25th. That's a free one. On thetldc.com, you can register for it there. And then on March 3rd and 4th, it looks like we're going to do 2 days for women in L&D. So that program is coming together. In fact, we're looking for speakers and stuff now. So if you have any ideas, hit me up in Slack. And yeah, that's going to be an exciting one as well. And with that, thanks again, speakers. And we'll see everybody next time. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.